Welcome to today's episode of the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry, connecting you with educational pieces, innovative industry product, and inspiration from industry experts. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Shaw. A little introduction for our guest today, Stacey Burt from Little Company, a skin clinic in Richmond Victoria, and more recently opened a second clinic in Byron Bay. Stace and her team at Little Company call themselves a team of living skin specialists who go beyond product and treatment to treat the skin as it should be, the largest living organ of the body. When I visited Stace and her team at Little Company for a treatment myself, I was given the most exquisite facial experience of my life to date, which is something that I do not say lightly. In conversation with Stacy explores how a treatment can be a grounded moment of connection and stillness between the therapist and client, and looks at the importance of why therapists should be present at all times, which is something I so truly resonate with and enjoyed listening to myself. Stace has found a quiet area of the Botanical Gardens in Melbourne to sit down and soak up the energy of nature while we recorded. So you will hear some roaming birds and the buzz of life around her during today's episode, which truly just shows you how much she admires connecting and time spent on self. From Little Company, today we welcome Stacey Burt.
Thanks so much for having me, Tamara. It's the first time I've been involved in a podcast. I was pretty excited this morning.
Yeah, I can imagine. And we've had this amazing, beautiful full moon last night, and you are sitting out in the garden. So I bet your energy right now is just beaming.
It's pretty amazing. I'm in Melbourne actually at the moment. So I've left the family back in Byron Bay. So I'm buzzing, just having a solo trip to Melbourne and sitting in the Botanical Gardens right now. It's pretty magic.
Gorgeous. That's one of my favourite places in Melbourne. It's funny that there is like a garden that can bring so much energy and life right in the middle of the city.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So we are chatting today about your business, Little Company. How did the concept come to life? Where did you begin? Can you give us a little bit of background on your career history, your ethos in life, and where you channeled your energy into building the company that it is today?
Yeah. We moved over from New Zealand about 15 years ago now, and when we first moved to Melbourne, I started working for Australia's largest spa network. So I worked there for a few years, started as a therapist, and just worked my way up and ended up being a trainer for them. And that was sort of one of my first sort of forays into the natural beauty world, I guess. And once I'd done that for 3 years, I decided I was training and I really just missed the connection that I had with my clients. So I opened a previous business before that with a girlfriend, and when we decided to go separate ways after 3 years, I still had that desire to retain the connection that I had with my customer base. I really just I just wanted to keep working hands on. So when we decided to open Little Company, I had a 2-week-old at that time, and it took a little bit of a push from my partner Kent. But we basically made the decision to do it all over again, and that's where Little Company was born.
Amazing. So you had a 2-week-old when you created the business?
Well, I did, yes. I seem to, like I think many women, just create businesses or do crazy things with newborns.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a crazy time, but I would do it all again.
Oh, I can imagine, and so well worth the reward to see the business that you've got now as well.
Yeah, and I remember Kent's sister saying to me once, just work hard while they're young, because it's not, I'm such a big believer in, it takes a village, and as long as there's, multiple people to give them love, if you're not there, it's to me, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so how did you come from having a concept of little company and you wanted to treat your own clients again and have that connection to then actually coming and making the business what it is today?
Well, I think even from when I first left beauty school back in New Zealand in 2003, I went straight into kind of like a natural spa in the middle of North Island called Rotorua, and that's really where I started working with nature's resources. Like we worked with a lot of geothermal mud, so treating the skin from such an early age, or such a sort of early in my career. I guess I always knew that that's kind of the career path that I wanted to take. So Little Company was really, it was really kind of a little bit of an extension of my previous business Made that I had before that. But I just really wanted to develop the concept and take the living skin facials even further. And back in my previous business, it was a really small boutique business, but we did all of everything in the beauty industry. So we did waxing and tinting as well. So I really just wanted to take facials and develop that concept even further.
Yeah, fantastic. And has it always been a dream of yours to own your own skin clinic?
Not really. I love training, and I still do love training. And I still get to train a lot, which is really exciting. It was actually the girlfriend who wanted to open the business, and she asked, not Little Company, but our previous business, because she was a young mum and she was finding it really hard to get back into the industry and to work for other people. I think it can be quite a tough industry for mums to get back into if they want to do part-time or just to have that flexibility. So yeah, it's not something, to be honest, I ever really saw myself doing, but now I couldn't imagine not having Little Company. And when I was training with a therapist when I was working for Australia's largest spa network, it was just so nice to be able to develop therapists as well. And I was getting, quite a lot of young therapists come through who, they didn't know, they just thought their parents pushed them into beauty therapy because they thought it was going to be easy, or, they haven't really developed the passion for it. So, it was kind of just a natural progression that I wanted to, like in the beginning, Little Company was just supposed to be little, but it's just been such a beautiful transition, being able to bring different therapists. I have mums, I have young therapists, I have such a mix of therapists, and just being able to watch them fall in love with the industry again. And so many of them that I've employed had completely left the industry because they had literally fallen out of love with it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we see all the time, and that's one of the reasons why we created our company, Beauty Industry, because exactly the same as you, it's, I've been worked so hard to the bone doing back-to-back massages, or, I just have no passion for the industry anymore. And our bridge is kind of that gap between, getting someone to realise that you can still be passionate, or you can be re-inspired with the industry. And I love what you've done in that you're kind of catering it to the real woman, so somebody who has had children, who needs the flexibility, who can't come in and do the 12-hour shift straight away, which I really love. You're giving that kind of onus to the female back.
And I even had I've just employed someone up in Byron, and she's 21, 22, and I met her mum the other day, and she literally just grabbed me by the arm and was just like, "Thank you so much for taking care of my daughter," because I think it's heartbreaking for the parents as well when they're and I used to do it, you know, back when I first moved to Australia. I was working for a chain beauty therapy salon, and the girls just used to be bawling their eyes out in the treatment room because they would just, you know, absolutely work to the bone, and they would just, you know, the manager and the 2IC was out the front having a, you know, talking about the girls, and, you know, that energy, you could just cut it with a knife. So I think it's so nice to be able to, bring people in and just take care of people, take care of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in terms of, you're saying taking care of your therapist and also then in turn them to take care of the clients, you don't actually call your therapist, you call them living skin specialists. What does this actually mean?
So I guess myself and my team, we're dedicated to just that, so living skin. We use the term to emphasise the importance of treating the skin as a living organ. So it's not made, it's cultivated through how we feed, how we nourish, how we stimulate the skin to help it function optimally. It's something that we've actually always done. I've always treated the skin that way, even right from when I was working in New Zealand. And it's really great to see that it is quite a common approach now to take care of that top layer of the skin. You know, and I'm sitting here looking at all these beautiful plants, and it's just like a plant, how we feed and how we nourish. So it's just the way we treat and we work with the skin.
Yes, very cool. And I really like it that, you know, you are saying that you're really honouring the skin, and you do refer to it as the largest organ of the body, and it is a living organ that functions exactly like a plant, and it feeds and it's nurtured by not only food but ingredients and emotion and hormones and absolutely everything else. And I think in this day and age where we're going very medi-spa, very inject, you know, very anti-aging, everyone is just peeling, you know, and doing all of these kind of invasive needle inject options. And I think it's nice sometimes to step it back and say, well, hang on, we haven't always had this in our life, but we've always had our skin. So how can we kind of bring it back to that?
Definitely. I mean, we've got one lifetime costume, and people, you know, they spend so much money on hair and nails and getting spray tans, and you know, it's just nice to re-educate them, you know, the same way you would, you know, look after your liver if you were run down, or, you know, you want to take care of your skin because you've only got one opportunity to do it.
Yeah. And I love that you've said that, you've used the word costume, because it essentially is, as women, we buy all the shoes, all the handbags, you know, and we try to cover up our skin, and it's like that is the one thing that you cannot really change. You know, you can't strip it off and get a new costume today. You know, and it baffles my mind how sometimes therapists too, but also clients don't really listen and don't actually look after their skin, and instead they'll spend $400 on a beautiful jacket and won't spend $150 on a serum. So it's also about that articulation between your living skin specialist and getting the client to understand what that means.
And I think it's just, you know, it's constantly about re-educating the clients as well. And I don't, you know, I've got, especially up in Byron Bay, I've got, you know, so many older women coming to me, and they're like, I don't want to go down that route that all my friends are doing. I don't want to have the Botox and the fillers and injections, and I don't actually want the downtime. So it's just teaching them how to age healthily and how to work with the skin, not against it. You know, it's so many people just after that instant gratification where, you know, the skin will benefit so much if you just work slowly with it. You will have a better outcome. Like the skin will be plump, it'll be softer. It won't get that hardened appearance that you get, you know, when you start going down that route, which is it's a quick fix with, you know, a lot of long side effects as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I really love the sensory aspect of, you know, the traditional facial as well, rather than being in a clinic which has dark lights and it is just pumping full of music, and that's the complete opposite to what you've created at Little Company. So for people who haven't been there before, it's just the most gorgeous, calming, grounding space. When you walk in the door, you instantly feel just so relaxed. Where did the concept of the space develop from?
So when we decided to open Little Company, we knew we would always, I had a 2-week-old at the time, and I had no idea how we were going to manage to pull it together. But we've got so many amazing, talented friends at our fingertips. So it was really a joint collaboration between everyone to bring the concept alive. So we had an architect in the beginning just to help out with a little bit of the planning, but basically my partner Kent took the reins from there. So we knew we wanted to just, like we did with my previous business, we kind of just flip everything about the industry on its head and just do everything different to what a typical salon would be. So, we knew we wanted warehouses. So both of our spaces are in warehouses. I knew I wanted to bring the outside in and the inside out. So all of the rooms are almost like a cabin. So it's like the cabins or pods within the warehouse. So, it started off with kind of a little bit of a concept, but they call it the K plan, which basically means my partner had 0 plans. So in the end, it's a bit more work, but I wouldn't have it anyway, because basically the whole space is touched by someone I love. So we use a lot of bootstrapping. We had Kent's brother fly over from New Zealand week on, week off, because he has his daughter every week, and the space just kind of grew organically. And just like our skin, nothing's perfect. So whenever I'm in both the spaces, I see the imperfections in the space, and I just love it more.
It's pretty phenomenal. It's, for anyone, if I can just paint a picture, and it obviously won't do it justice because it's more of a feeling than it is a thing, but you kind of walk into this beautiful warehouse, and I've been to the Melbourne location. So gorgeous warehouse. You walk in and somebody is always standing behind reception, which I bloody love, because that is a rarity. You're always kind of just walking in going, okay, where are all the people? Or, is someone going to help me? So you always have somebody beautiful standing there smiling. And so to the left is a kind of gorgeous lounge area with monsteras and fiddle leaves and all of this gorgeous greenery, and it just has these beautiful big windows which just allow so much sunlight and kind of antibacterial, cleansing, energetic properties into the place. And you walk down the side, you're not overwhelmed by retail, which I also love. You're not standing in front of a wall of a mecca of products, which is just confusing and confronting and in your face, and somebody's going to sell you something. You don't feel like that here. And you walk down, and as you said, you've kind of got these pods. So everything's very neutral toned, raw timbered, kind of organic. I don't know, it's just amazing. I said to my partner, he constantly asked me, do you want to open a day spa? What do you want to do? And I said, the only place I would ever open is if I spoke to Stace and I could franchise out a Little Company clinic, and I would do it myself. And I've honestly said that's the only thing I would ever do, because if I was going to open something, I would just copy everything you've done anyway.
That's really nice.
But it sounds like your hubby's been super kind of supportive for you as well. So you've got a 2-week-old, and he's saying, yeah, just jump into it, run your own business, and I'll help you with all the planning and everything. So he's pretty phenomenal.
Oh, he is pretty magic. Nothing phases him. Nothing's too difficult. He's pretty optimistic.
Amazing. So as I mentioned in the introduction and just now, I've been to your Melbourne location and I had a treatment, and the facial for me, I have never received anything quite like it. It was so much more than a skin treatment. During every single step. It felt like I was being hugged and nurtured and just loved the entire time. The thing for me was that every single touch was done really purposefully. So, you know, even putting a blanket on, it wasn't just whipped over me. It was like beautifully placed. And the headband, it wasn't making my ears fold over, and, you know, it wasn't pulling at my head. It was just beautiful. And the touch was just so amazing. And I wanted to just cry during and after the treatment, because all of this technology we do and use, I just feel like we're just so disconnected from touch, and nobody's hugging anymore and patting anyone on the back or really touching. And it was just so much more special than anything else I've ever received. Do you believe that kind of, I'm going to put it down to mindfulness and presence, that this level can be taught? Or do you think that that's kind of an internal spirit of the therapist, more like you've got it or you don't?
Yeah, I had to think about this question quite a bit. I actually had a facial from my manager, Sam, last night, and I felt exactly the same. I literally just rolled off the bed and was almost in tears. And when I was walking through the gardens this morning, I could still feel every sweep and touch that she did on my face. So that level of touch, it really, it does linger with you for a while. So I do actually think it's more than just training the sequence or the steps that need to occur during the facial. I think it's pretty easy, you know, and I know some places sometimes there's no training. It's like, here's the manual, here's the steps, just off you go. And, you know, we could definitely do that. We have our manuals and we have our steps, but I do think one part can be trained, but I think the other part does need to be cultivated from within. So over the years, we've really refined our interview process. We take a lot of time with that. I'm not in a hurry. I would prefer to have 2 rooms running with amazing therapists than 2.5 rooms running with someone that just doesn't get it. So I do believe that therapist needs to have an understanding of the energy and how breath work and how intuition can really take that facial to another level. And if they don't understand, and they're, you know, I've always been taught, if you can teach skill, you can teach depth, but you can't teach attitude. So if they've got the right attitude and they're willing and they're committed, and you know, I'll only employ people that are going to be with us long term, because you know, ideally I want a 2-year commitment, because at the minimum, because I put so much love and so much time into each of our team members. We spend a lot of time teaching them how to prepare their energies. We work with, I have an amazing kinesiologist that we work with, that she comes and does workshops with the girls. You know, it's going back to the space. So the environment is equally important for our clients as it is our therapists, because if the environment's not right, if they're stressed, if the girls are stressed by any reason, that transfers through them into the client. So most of the techniques, they are learnt, and they can be developed and trained, but without the right preparation, it can't be delivered effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you're saying there. It's a lot about intuition as well, which I think, you know, can sound a little woo-woo for some people, but if you get it, you just get it. You know,
just get it.
Think, yeah. That's 100% what it was the entire time, you know, and just every single step was just so phenomenal. And it's just so different to a regular salon or clinic or spa, because it felt like almost the therapist was an extension of me. It wasn't that she was another person in the room just flapping around the sink and doing things like that. It was like she didn't leave me the entire time, and that's such a special feeling if you've not felt that before.
Yeah, I got that feedback from my sister-in-law this morning. She went somewhere else for a massage, and she was like, you know, they would just constantly lose that connection, and they would, you know, run the water and pump the oil, and, you know, every little thing that you do just takes them out. it just takes them out of that deeper level. And I think for people that have never had a facial before, they wouldn't, they don't necessarily pick up on that. But once they've had like a living skin facial, it's really hard for them to go back to just a typical facial, because they're used to that connection and that deeper, you know, they don't know what we do, and people don't remember what you do in a facial. They only remember how you made them feel. And, you know, the biggest thing I teach the girls is our mantra is just to be calm and considered. So everything you do is very considered, like you said, the way you put the headband on, the way you put the blanket on, the way you raise the bed up and down. So there's no jolting, there's no frights, there's no, there's nothing to take you out of that deeper level, which you can get to. And for when you have a facial with us, it's a really restorative experience. And you know, if it's your first time, we will explain to you it's really an opportunity for you to take some time for yourself, and it's an opportunity for you to pause and to take a moment, because like you said, in this busy technology world, everyone's just rushing. So for a lot of people who are quite highly strung, it does take them about half an hour to get to that next level, but you can instantly see once their bodies drop, you know that you've got them. So for those people, they really benefit from like a full 90-minute facial, because then they get to actually have like an hour of relaxation and half an hour of winding down.
Yes, and I love that it's 90 minutes, because exactly as you said, even just a general massage, which you think most people would be able to relax right into, by the time you've done 20 minutes on the back and 10 minutes on the legs, you turn over and you think, oh, I'm only just starting to relax. So 90 minutes is so much more needed, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. You spoke about recruitment there, and that your recruitment process is quite expansive, because you are trying to find somebody who has this kind of innate intelligence to be able to supply a client with this treatment. Generally, during the recruitment process, people are so nervous and they don't actually show their true personality. Is there any special way that you kind of cut through that, or allow someone to open up to show you who they really are in this kind of stark interview panel?
Yeah, I meet them multiple times, so I don't rush it. Sometimes the interview process, it can be over a week, it can be over 2 weeks, and I don't ever get them to perform a facial on me first up. So I actually perform a facial on them. So whether that's a half an hour, 45, an hour if we've got time. So I just connect with them, because everybody's going to be nervous. And, you know, I've done it so many times when I've had to, you know, back in the day, apply for a job, and you can't perform the facial that you want to apply because you are so nervous. So, you know, it might not be till the third or the fourth meeting that we're comfortable, we've had coffee or chai, and sometimes, to be honest, I don't even get them to perform a facial, because if I can tell right away from as soon as I meet them that they're going to be right for the company. So I know, I'm so confident that we can teach it, as long as, you know, we have that connection with them. Sometimes I don't even get them to do a facial.
Amazing. How's that for a recruitment process? You get facials. That's pretty amazing. What I love, what you touched base on before about, you know, kind of honouring the female busy lifestyle that we have. And as therapists, the majority of us are women, and we do have such a life outside the treatment room. So, you know, we're daughters and wives and sisters and mums, and the role is so expansive. How do you keep your team focused and grounded so that the quality of the service doesn't dissipate due to wandering minds or a break in energy?
I give back a lot to my team. I was actually asked in Byron to do a little talk on this, which was really nice. So it was all about giving thanks, and I just make sure that I support them and I support their energies, and I just want them to feel, I mean, we spend 70% of our lives at work. Like, it's too much time to not love what you do. So, we schedule a lot of time for them. We have every 3 months they go for a seasonal treatment somewhere else, whether that be depending on what they need. They might go for Reiki, they might go for massage, they might go for another facial. We make sure that they're on the bed every 6 weeks, so they have a facial from sort of 6 to 8 weeks from the team, so they do a swap. We do seasonal events, we do seasonal dinners, and I just make sure that, whoever's on that front of house, like you mentioned, and it's nice to hear that, I just want that same person on front of house. I want, that whoever's there, because I can't be there all the time because I've got 2 little ones, I just want to make sure whoever's there is basically an extension of me. So they're there to support the girls if they're having a bad day, and everyone's it's that time of the month, we might be all synced and we're all, it might full moon like yesterday, everyone's energy was a bit scattered. So I just want to make sure whoever's on front of house, if I can't be there, they might go get some little pan of chocolate or, just something small to make the day really enjoyable. Yesterday I came back and it just didn't feel right to be in the space and to have, I don't like calling them meetings, just to have catch up. So I was like, bugger it, let's just go to the pub and have an Aperol Spritz, So we just had a little week Aperol Spritz midday, and it's just, you can actually properly connect and properly, chat to the girls, and it just, to me, it makes a world of difference because there's no hierarchy. I don't want them to. I've heard one of the girls call me a boss, and I was like, oh, don't, I'm not your boss, Like, I just want them to feel very, most of them they're all mid-20s, 30, 35. Like, you should be able to manage yourself. You don't need anyone coming in and being like, if you had to quickly pop to and pick up something before work, oh my God, you're not here, or, and people, the girls give so much love and so much energy into every facial. I just, it's my one goal to hope to feel that, they have that flexibility.
And it's such a difficult thing to actually create and maintain. I see so many business owners, and as you said earlier, you can walk in and you can cut the tension with a knife because you just feel something has gone wrong. But I love that, and once again, I'm sure it comes back to intuition, that you can walk into the space and go, something's not quite right here. And instead of reprimanding and asking, where the drama is or anything like that, you're just grabbing the team and going, that's it. Let's just switch it up, change the energy, refocus the mindset, have a little drink or two at the pub, and then come back in and just, we can completely just immerse ourselves in our work, which I think is a real kind of nod to you as a business owner and as a team leader, in that you can recognise that, where I think a lot of owners or managers can't. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
Now, one thing I do want to touch base on, and I found quite refreshing about walking into Little Company, was the uniform and the presentation of the therapist. So for our audience who maybe hasn't been to your space before, you can expect the therapist to be wearing almost normal but definitely wearable and comfortable clothes that's very on brand with your brand, and neutral colours and neutral tones, and a real kind of barely there makeup look. How and why have you implemented this type of uniform expectation?
Again, it was we just wanted to turn everything about the beauty industry on its head. And when I was working and training for the spa, we were just in these uniforms that just, you'd go out to get a coffee or to the shops and it was almost embarrassing. And, I know it's hard when you've got a large network, and it's hard to regulate people's, it's hard to kind of manage with a large group of people. But I think, again, going back to the interview process, if you're setting the expectations from the very beginning and you're employing people that align with your brand, not necessarily just because you need to fill a room and because you need to start making money, I think it really pays off. So it has been a little bit challenging as we've grown. We've now introduced like beautiful linen, soft Japanese linen aprons to go over, and that's, just feedback. It's just sometimes a little bit easier because we're so involved in the facial. We can, walk out with, if we're wearing our nice whites, we can get, mask all over our top and whatnot. So the aprons, we introduced them in Byron, and we've now wear them in Melbourne. And I think and the girls, it took a little bit of adjustment for those who weren't used to it, but they love it now.
Good. And I guess, being a living skin specialist with the kind of minimal makeup, if any, is barely there at all, you're kind of expanding to the client that, well, we are honouring the skin in every single way and practicing what we're preaching. Was that your kind of notion towards doing that?
Yeah, definitely. And all of the therapists, all of the living skin therapists have their story of how they went makeup free as well. So it's really nice to be able to then share that with the clients. Like, it took me 6 months to stop wearing makeup. It took me a while to get used to my imperfections and what my skin looks like without being covered up. And after a while, you do get used to it. And when the skin can breathe every day, 9 times out of 10, when people get off that chemical heavy makeup, their skin fixes itself. So it's really nice for the clients to be able to share that experience with the client. And I've got no problems employing girls. I've got a couple at the moment who they're going through their own skin journey and they're having a lot of problems with hormonal breakout, but you find that they then connect with those clients that come in and they can share their story about how they're dealing with it when they feel like they want to cover up, but they just know that it's the best thing for their skin not to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from the company that Little Company is, you have established another arm into the business, which is now your online store. Was this always a pathway that you wanted the business to move into?
Not really. I think it was just a conversation that Kent and I had, and it was probably just more of a way to support our clients. It was our clients, they come from literally all over Melbourne. So Warrandyte, Elwood, North Side, South Side, West, like everywhere. So, if people can't get in to top up their products, it's just a convenient way for a lot of people. So, our regular clients from Warrandyte, they'll just purchase online and we do for express post shipping the next day. So she literally has it the next day. For those people who are not city bound, I think it's just an easier way for them to get it. So we're always keeping to develop that online store concept. So we've got to do a little bit of work on website and communications this year. But yeah, I mean, it was hard. It was hard work, and it's not a cheap thing to do either. But I think it's paid off now. Like, we're getting lots of clients who have never even visited the store from Perth, New Zealand, starting to purchase. So it's always a bonus when you're getting sales on a Sunday, not even open.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned there that you are in Richmond and you're in that kind of CBD, bustling, busy suburb in Vic. And your second location there is in Byron Bay, which is just a huge congratulations for opening. I can't wait to visit that space now that I've moved up to Queensland. I figured out the other day that it's only like a 2.5 hour drive from here. So I'm going to need to come down and spend a self-care weekend and just spend the whole day at your clinics.
Amazing.
How did you kind of figure out that you wanted to do Byron? Because they seem like such a chalk and cheese kind of location.
Yeah, they do. Byron, to be honest, was actually always on the cards. So when my previous business shut down, we just thought, bugger it, let's just shoot for the stars. And so the plan was Melbourne or Richmond, 2 years later Byron, 2 years after that Bali, and 2 years after that New Zealand. Whether the rest of that will come to fruition, I have no idea. But we wrote it down. It was in the plan, and literally 2 years to the day, we opened Byron Bay. So when we left New Zealand about 15 years ago, we actually moved to Queensland first. So we went to Burleigh Heads, and we just spent a lot of time in Byron Bay. We'd always be down there for day trips. So we kind of did the Gold Coast life when we were 21 for a year and a half, and just we had to get out. It was just too much. And then Kent was like, let's just do Melbourne. So we ended up in Melbourne for 10 years, and Melbourne presented a lot of opportunities. I will never, if I wasn't in Melbourne, probably if we were still in New Zealand, I can't see the opportunity to open a space would maybe, but probably not have arrived like Little Company did. So literally we just went up to Byron Bay last October with absolutely no intention at all to open a space. Stacey my daughter was only 15 weeks at that stage. And we knew a couple of people up there. We ended up staying I went for a massage at a really awesome place that's opened up there, and connected with her. And Kent just started driving around the area that we wanted to be in, the industrial area, and came across this cool Kiwi guy with dreads all the way down to his bum, and they hit it off like a house on fire. He was doing the gardens. He thought he was a gardener, but he actually owns the building, and his tenants were moving out. So Kent literally, he got offered the shop on the day, and it's half of what we pay in Melbourne. It's such an amazing opportunity, and Byron, we had heard, is so tight knit. It's so hard to get a space. They just get snapped up before they even go on the market. So we looked at each other and we were like, if this goes through, we won't question it. We'll just do it. And literally that was October, and by January we had packed up we just moved into a house in Melbourne. We bought a property in Warrandyte. We literally packed it up, packed the dog up, packed the 2 kids, and we're in Byron 3 months later.
Amazing. So I love that.
I think now being up in Byron, to be honest, when we were thinking about expand, I was just like, again, I just don't know how I'm going to do it with a 3-year-old and a 15-week-old. And again, we just pulled on amazing resources that we have. We've got Bobby, who helps with our social, and she helped Kent with a lot of the artist direction with the space, and just again bootstrapping using family from New Zealand, the K plan, no plans, it was ever changing. And now that I'm in Byron, I couldn't imagine not being in Byron. Like, it does really feel like the spiritual home of Little Company. Like the plants, just the abundance of self-care up there is phenomenal, and just the connection in the community, the wellness brands, and everyone is so progressive. Everyone just wants to, everyone's self-employed. They all want to do contra, which is like a whole nother ball game. So Melbourne, no one has ever offered to do contra. So I have so much jewelry, I have sunglasses, I have clothes, and I'm lucky that I can do. I will always work hands on, and I'm lucky that I can do the treatment for people who do want to do contra. But yeah, one of my staff moved up from Melbourne. I was literally sitting outside the space when we were renovating. I just thought, how the hell am I going to do this? And I literally just texted one of my girls, and I was like, would you ever consider coming out to Byron? And she was like, I knew you were going to ask me that. And she's an angel. She's up there, and I think she'll be out there with me for a long time. So it just felt right. It's definitely been challenging with a completely different client base, because when we opened Little Company in Melbourne, I split the database with my girlfriend, so we already had 1,500 on our database. So we didn't have to do any marketing or anything. We opened the door with, already filling 2 rooms, which was great. So it's definitely been interesting of like, actually, okay, I need to like get out there and network, and but yeah, it's still it's communicating to a mainly tourist market. We've tapped into the local community, but it's quite a small community out there. So, on the weekends we do rely on tourists. So it's definitely challenging, but it's still growing organically, and the whole brand is taking on a shape of its own, because I really don't feel like it's my brand anymore. Like, it's all the girls, it's all the people that have contributed to it. So yeah, it's really starting to pay off, which is nice.
Amazing. And it sounds like such a free-flowing movement. You know, you got there and someone was out there doing the gardens and offered the space. You know, I think when things happen that organically, it's kind of like you just can't step in and overthink it. You just need to let it be what it is, and look where you are now in doing that.
Definitely. Yeah, it can be a little bit stressful, but I think it's working out okay for us at the moment.
So I was going to say what's next for Little Company, but you mentioned there Bali and New Zealand for third and fourth locations. Is that in sight? Is that becoming tangible, or is that in the dream box?
I think that might be in the dream box. I'm not thinking about that too much at the moment. 2019, I've promised the girls it's all about training and development. So I'm here in Melbourne at the moment. We're just reviewing everything, looking at just how to evolve the experience. So I have promised the girls no babies, no new spaces. But I think we've put it out there that we will probably do another space in Melbourne. But again, it will only happen if it happened the same way that Byron did. Like if something just appears, we'll do it towards the end of the year. But yeah, this year I just want to focus all the energy into the staff, into the clients, and just make sure that we're evolving that experience. I'd like to go and do a trip with Kent, leave the kids because they're a bit older now with the grandparents, and maybe go to LA or New York and just see what's happening in the industry, and just kind of, obviously Australia and New Zealand can be a little bit behind, so I just kind of want to see what's happening in the world, because I've kind of been a bit incubated in mum life, that I always have my blinkers on. I never really look what's happening outside, but it'll just be interesting. We've had obviously with Byron, we've had a lot of people coming over from New York, actually, who own different beauty places over there. So I'm like, oh, you're having a look at what I'm doing. I might go have a look at what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there's always big ideas floating around, but like we said, all the major moves have come with no planning. So yeah, we'll just see. But that's it, really. I'm excited. I'm excited for 2019.
Yes, it sounds like such a good year for you guys, and it's so nice to hear that, you know, when you're in startup phase, and clearly you're beyond startup now with 2 companies, but sometimes you get so much traction so fast that you end up being very reactive rather than proactive, and you can just get too excited and just open so fast and so many locations that you lose sight of the vision. But I love that you've kind of made it a real touch point for yourself and for your family and your team, and said, hang on, let's just use this year to slow it down, maintain the business so that you've got real steady growth and you've got a really strong brand vision going forward. So I think that is a very wise year for you to do.
And it's nice, like, you know, so many of my clients, even back from my old spa days, I still catch up with those ladies for coffee when I'm back, and you know, and I think they really appreciate that. So I think if you get too big, you just got to make sure that you can keep those touch points and keep that contact with the clients who do become like family, and that's the only reason I'll keep doing it. If I'm having fun, and my staff and my clients continue and always will be like family to me. We don't have any grandparents, or most of our family's all back in New Zealand, so it really is just an extension of family life.
Fantastic. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, because I've scoured your brain and thought to absolutely everything Little Company, and I so appreciate your time today. And you're on a work trip down in Melbourne, and you've taken the time to sit in a beautiful park and have a chat to us. So thank you so much for featuring on our podcast today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Tamara. It's so nice to just take the opportunity to reflect, and it's 2019. I think I've always said no to things like this, but it's my yes year, I think.
Fantastic. First yes of the year. I'm so honoured.
Yes.
What a special episode. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're able to take away some special moments this episode captured and are able to put them into practice. Performing a good treatment is one thing, but it takes a special kind of therapist to be present and have the ability to nurture a client from the soul. If you have an industry colleague who you think should listen to this episode or any others, please grab their phone and download the podcast for them. The bigger our audience is, the greater impact we can have on this positive industry change. Until next time, stay connected.